Hey everyone, it is Tony George along with Griff Murphy, my buddy here from DocSports.com. And Griff, we're coming off only the second losing show of the year. So we got to
I
bounce
know.
back this week. Now we're giving the haters something to come out at us with. 9-2, you're only as good as your last pick in this business, pal.
Absolutely. But I will say, man, with the slate on track today, I'm real excited for this show. I love all three of my plays that I'm coming in with.
Yeah, it is championship weekend this weekend in college football. And, of course, lots of BCS Final Four implications and what ifs and this, that, and the other, all being speculated in the media. However, at day's end, you got to worry about the game that's in front of you. You got to take care of business. It opens up, Friday. You got some good games out there, with the New Mexico State and Liberty. I don't know why this coach from Liberty isn't getting any press in terms of some of these openings that are popping up, because he did a hell of a job at Coastal Carolina, and Liberty wasn't even supposed to be on the map this year, and they're unbeaten. So that's going to be a good game. I mean, every game's got a great storyline this week, and one of those is the ACC championship.
Yep.
And that is Louisville, who was my top pick in terms of season win totals of over 8.5 this year. Brom's done a good job. He didn't do such a good job last week. Kentucky got him in that, which surprised me a little bit, to be honest with you. Kentucky's been so hit and miss this year, and Louisville's been pretty steady. But nonetheless, they're taking on a Florida State team, and to say some of the shine has been taken off this game, Griff, because Florida State lost their quarterback, Travis. He's a really good quarterback, really and makes them a national title contender, and he's out now. And then, of course, then you got Louisville losing last week. So, they're both kind of limping in here. And Florida last week, with a really bad defense, really gave Florida State all they wanted and then some here. And now you've got this line right now, Florida State 2.5, total 48.5. How do you see this one going down?
Yeah, Tony, rolling into this game, and the biggest thing that everybody's got to understand is Jordan Travis is not Florida State University. He is their quarterback. He is very, very good, a very, very good quarterback, but he is not their team. And I did some homework on Tate Rodemaker, the backup quarterback, and this guy coming out of high school was literally had rides to every Power 5 school in the nation. Everybody was reaching out to this guy. And I dug into his stats, and he was incredible out of high school. And actually, Mike Norvell, back when he was with Memphis in 2019, this is when Rodemaker made his decision. He was looking for schools to commit. He initially committed to South Florida. Norvell ended up getting the head coach job with Florida State while they were in contact. 3 days later, Rodemaker initially signed and committed as Florida State's quarterback. The problem for him was he had to deal with Travis, and we know what Travis has done in his career with Florida State. He has been absolutely dynamic. But what people have to understand is this Florida State team is still 12-0 unbeaten, whether Travis has played or not. Rodemaker came into last week's game against Florida while they were trailing. Not only did he bring his team to a victory, but they also managed to cover the spread. You have to look at this game and understand that this is an undefeated team who is statistically player versus player against Louisville, the edges. There's no comparison. This Florida State team has NFL draft picks across the entire offense, along with across their entire defense. They have first rounders in the secondary. They've got first rounder wide receivers. I mean, they are very good statistically across every single level of the spectrum. And then you go to Louisville right now. I can't take anything from Jeff Brom, head coach. What a phenomenal job this guy has done all season long, leading this team to a 10-2 record and an ACC title match. Right now, though, I've mentioned it over and over again, Tony, with Jack Plummer. Yes, he got it together, but I've said this guy is a head case mentally when it comes to the football field, when he has to make emotional decisions with the ball. Well, we kind of saw that last week with Kentucky losing outright last week. They have 2 losses all season against Pittsburgh and Kentucky, 2 losses that are unexceptional. But for this team, Jack Plummer, love him at the quarterback spot, but in a title match, I don't necessarily love him. I love Jordan in the backfield, and I think they have a very outstanding defense. The thing is, going into this game, as I mentioned already 3 times, Florida State is 12-0 this season. They have won every single game this far this season by at least a touchdown, by at least 7 points, besides against Boston College in week 3, which was very early on in the season, and that type of stuff happens. So looking at this game, 70% of the money is on Louisville in this game. This game line opened up at -6. It is now at 2.5. If you can get this game at money line with Florida State, my play, at a -135, attack it. Right now it's at -140. I don't love that. I'm laying the point. So I have a lean right now on the money line. If you can get it take it in at -135, snag it. If not, my play going into this game, Tony, is going with Florida State, and I am laying the 2.5 points. I do not care that Jordan Travis is out in this game. I think Roadmaker is really going to make a statement for this Florida State team and win this matchup. Shifting gears over now, Tony, to the Big 12 championship. We've got number 12, Oklahoma State versus number 7, Texas. Texas is laying 14.5 points in this game, total 55.5. This game will be kicking off at noon on Saturday in Arlington, Texas. You can watch it on ABC. Texas coming into this game on a 6-game winning streak. Oklahoma State last week, laying 16.5 points to BYU. They go into a double overtime and pull through with a victory. Steve Sarkisian, this dynamic offense with Quinn Ewers and Texas. Tony, how does Oklahoma State deal with this team?
I don't know for sure. Oklahoma State was a big surprise this year. We just talked about a season win total, big winner I had on Louisville. I also had the under 6.5 with Oklahoma State this year. Wasn't a big a play on the futures tickets, but one that I ripped up for a couple $100, which ticked me off. But Oklahoma State had lost more in the transfer portal, including their quarterback, who ended up going to Ole Miss to be a backup. And so I thought to myself, there's got to be some sort of he was guaranteed a starting job and a starring role with, racking up some numbers and getting some national attention. If you stay at Oklahoma State your senior year and you transfer out, go sit on the bench behind Dart there at Ole Miss. And I still kind of scratching my head on why that happened. Obviously, there was some personal issues involved there, but I tell you what, Mike Gundy probably did his best coaching job of his career this year to get his team in this position. And a big win over Oklahoma in the final Bedlam Series game, and they were rolling. But after that game, their last 3 games, Oklahoma State has given up 34, 30, and 45 on defense. And what do you think Texas is going to hang on them? I mean, Texas losing their running back, I think his name was Brooks, was a huge ordeal to them. He was about 90% of their offense. And so they're kind of in a similar situation as Florida State is. The best player in their team is out, and you've seen that a little bit with Texas. Now, Oklahoma State has owned these guys 4-0 against the spread. All as an underdog the last 4 times they played, and they won 3 of them outright. I mean, that's a hell of a record against Texas. They got their number. You're talking about now this went from 13.5 to 14.5, and you're over a key number. But can I trust Oklahoma State to do something defensively in this game? Because, even without the running back that Texas had, Texas has got more 5-star recruits in-house, on the roster than, about like Georgia and Alabama. I mean, they're right up there, and Sarkisian's a good play caller. That being said, I like the over. It went up to 56.5. I think Texas is going to hang close to 40 on them, and I think that Oklahoma State will kick in. I'm not willing to lay the 14.5, but I'm not willing to. I keep thinking back to 3 weeks ago. These guys played Central Florida and never even got off the bus. Central Florida beat the dog piss out of Oklahoma State, and I had Oklahoma State in that game. for a 6-unit play. Now, they lost their quarterback the first series of the game. I'll grant them that. But after that, they just were like they'd never played organized football. And then last week, I watched that BYU game. There's no way they should even won that. But they figured out a way to win it. Maybe they're a heart attack team, and maybe they're going to play loose. They got nothing to lose. Texas, it's kind of hard to imagine. I never could figure out this BCS Final Four when you have 5 Power 5 conferences. How you cannot have a 16 playoff with 5 Power 5 conferences, and you throw in your at-large, which could be Notre Dame or a really strong Mountain West school, for instance, or something, or a Liberty that's unbeaten, that you throw in a wild card in there. But Texas, they say if Alabama beats Georgia and Texas, doesn't have an impressive win, that they're going to leapfrog Texas, but Texas beat them by double digits. So, there's a lot of pressure on Texas here from a national media standpoint and spotlight standpoint, where there's none on Oklahoma State, which makes them a dangerous foe, in my opinion. However, I do think there's going to be a lot of scoring in this game. Big 12 is not known for defense like the Big 10. It's known for offense, and I'll take the over 56.5 in this game. Switching gears, let's get to it. The MAC. We've seen a lot of MAC action on Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays here over the last 3-4 weeks. I don't get involved in it. This is always a wild and woolly conference. There's usually a handful of teams that can win it. You could put 6 or 7, they play this in Detroit. You can put 6 or 7 different teams matched up against each other at the end of the year, and you're going to get 6 or 7 different results if you play them 2 times each. But Toledo are laying 7.5 here over Miami of Ohio. Now, this game back October 21st was a 21-17 ball game and a tight one, with Toledo coming out on top here. Now they're on a neutral site laying over a touchdown total 44.5, Griff.
Yeah, Tony, this is one of a very interesting game. And I love, you know what, man, Toledo is one of those teams, though, that they have found themselves sustaining season after season. They're always up there. They're always a contending, very good team. And they are explosive offensively. Dating back to week 1, their lone loss of the season was against Illinois, where they lost by 2 points in that game. Since then, they have won 11 straight games. They are currently 11-1 on the season. And this is the most potent offense in the MAC, hands down. They are currently averaging over 35 points per game on the offensive side. They've got DeQuan Finn at the quarterback spot. He's breaking out. He's got 21 touchdown passes, passed for over 2,200 yards. I want to say he's only got 8 picks on the season. And they have a really, really good run game with Penny Boone. This guy's already rushed for over 15 touchdowns. They are an extremely potent offense, as I mentioned earlier. And you are dealing now with an extremely potent defense with Miami, Ohio. Miami, Ohio, when I say potent defense, I'm going to break it down like this. They shut down Bowling Green 27-0. Bowling Green is not a bad team by any means in that conference. They play very strong football, and they have an offense that puts up points. Dating back, this Miami, Ohio team has not allowed more than 21 points since week 3. Prior, besides against their matchup against Toledo, where they lost that match in a 21-17 final. Looking at this game, because of Miami, Ohio, they have a second-string quarterback starting for them. And the last thing that you want them to do is play the chase game. Their starter, Brett Gabbert, is hurt. He's been hurt for, I want to say, 5 or 6 games. So Avion Smith has taken over at that quarterback spot. He's got really weird numbers. He's got 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, and he's passed for over 500 yards. It doesn't add up. Really, really weird. And the last thing that you want to be doing in a game like this is playing the chase when you have a second-string quarterback playing for your team in a title match. Toledo is going to score points. They're going to get off the ball. But they're laying a lot of points in this game, especially in a title match. That is too many points for me to lay. But I really think that Miami, Ohio is going to step up heavily on that defensive side, as they have established it all season long. especially considering they are 9-3 against the spread this season. Again, something also to compound on why I don't like laying the points with Toledo. What I love in this matchup is the points. I love the under 44.5 points in this matchup. Shifting gears now, Tony, let's head right on into the NFL. Tony?
I guess got one thing about Toledo, too, I noticed. They had a dramatic come-from-behind victory against Bowling Green on MAC Action Night one night. They were dead to right. One thing about them, this is one of those games you want to keep a close eye on. If you have the ability with an app, the in-game wager, Toledo is not a good first-half team. So a lot of people will go, well, I'll just take that fall number out of that and I'll bet them first half. I wouldn't do that. But you want to see how this game is going at halftime. And if it's really tight, you may find some serious value if the number's, digestible in the second half, laying at Toledo second half. Because this is a team that comes from behind a lot, and they just play better in the second half than they do the first half. Just a little FYI out there for you guys like the in-game wager. This is one you want to keep an eye on.
I love that. I love that. Let's head over to New York. We're in the NFL right now. We've got the Atlanta Falcons rolling into to New York playing the Jets. Jets are getting 3 points at home. We've got a total at 34. This game will kick off Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern time. You can watch it on Fox. Jets have lost 4 straight games, and now they've got Tim Boyle at that quarterback spot. I will say, though, Aaron Rodgers, he started his 21-day practice today. I don't know what necessarily the plan is, especially with the team when you're 4-7 and you're really not in any playoff track whatsoever. But he's practicing. He's ready to go. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, God bless him. What a recovery. I mean, the guy's rolling. And then you roll over and you look at this Atlanta team, shifting gears. Well, you've got Ritter at the quarterback spot. He's got 7 touchdowns on the season, and he's got 8 picks. The guy's a turnover machine. I am not sold on this Atlanta Falcons team by any means. And once again, this New York Jets team is going to have to rely on their defense game after game after game. Tony, what is your thoughts with this game with the Jets getting 3 points at home in this matchup?
Well, number one thing is I can't, if Aaron Rodgers was to come back and play this year, it'd be the stupidest thing he ever did. Because you're not going to be fully healed from a torn Achilles tendon that had to be sewn back together. That's an injury that many times takes people 18 months to get over. FYI. Now, I know he's one of these holistic guys and goes in a tent and does shrooms and tries to figure out the meaning of life and, who knows what. But I think you're potentially ruining next year by coming and playing to prove a point, which there is no point. The Jets suck. Right. They're terrible. I mean, could Aaron Rodgers on one leg be better than Boyle or Wilson? Well, hell yeah. On one leg, he could be, Patrick Mahomes beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl on one leg, basically, last year. I mean, these good guys really can get it done, but I think it's a waste of time, and it doesn't make a difference. Why would anybody or any coach or any general manager want to put an Aaron Rodgers behind this offensive line of the Jets? Right. Because it is terrible. What Miami have 7 sacks last week? I mean, they were just teeing off on this guy all day long, and Atlanta is strong up front defensively. Forget the offense and the fact they don't have a quarterback. They ran Heineke up the pole. That didn't work. They're back to Ritter. He sucks. I've been saying all year long on this show he's not an NFL quarterback. I mean, this is real simple. A couple of different ways to play this game. Number one is under 34 for sure. I don't see Atlanta. This got 13-6 written all over it. I don't even know if Atlanta can cover. But one thing on this game, too, the New York Jets team total is 16. Give me a break. They're not going to get 16 points in this game. They're not going to get 10. Take the under on Jets team total under 16.5 as well, and take the under 34 for the game. Switching gears, well, we don't have to worry about this game not having any scoring. Washington at home, catching 9.5. Total almost 50, sitting at 49.5 with Miami, they struggled a little bit getting it going against New York. But you'll also notice even defenses as good as New York, when your offense keeps handing you back 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and outs, you get tired. And you saw in that second half that Miami just had their way with them,
Right.
And Washington, on the other hand, Howell's a good quarterback. I love Ron Rivera's scapegoat routine. You trade away your 2 best defensive players, and then you suck on defense, and you get your ass whipped by the Cowboys, so then you fire to your defensive coordinator, Jack Del Rio. Like, that's going to change anything, in this one here. And Miami seems every time they're laying a big number against a weak sister, Griff, they just take off and go to town on them. Interesting game here as Miami makes back-to-back roadies up north there on the eastern seaboard to take on the Commanders this weekend. Your thoughts in this one?
Yeah, this is this line came out really weird for me, Tony. Looking at this game right now, the Dolphins are laying 9.5 points, and I'm gonna say it flat out. They have the best offense when it comes to versatility, dynamic. I mean, they have the most surging offense on the football field against any team in the NFL. You could talk about the Eagles. You could talk about the Chiefs, the Niners. There is no offense that can run routes the way that this offense runs routes. You've got Tyreek Hill, you've got Waddle, you've got Mozart, and you've got Tua gunslinging it. This offense is so potent. And then you look at this Commanders defense. They're allowing over 30 points per game on the defensive side, and their secondary is dead last when it comes to passing yards against per game. Their secondary sucks. They are completely brutal right now. So I look at this game, and then you go back to the offense with Washington, and you've got Sam Howell. Everybody has their own opinion, obviously, on him. He's got 18 touchdowns on the season. He's got 13 picks. He's also a turnover machine. And when you're playing a team like Miami, who absolutely runs the ball up the field left and right, they put up more points than anybody in the NFL. I believe they're first in total offensive yards. They're first in the NFL in passing yards per game. And I want to say they're second in points per game on the offensive side. And you are playing the worst defense in all of football. What else do I have to say about this game other than the fact that Washington has 1 win at home this season? Week 1 against the worst team in the NFL, and that is the Arizona Cardinals, where they won that game by 4 points. Give me the Dolphins laying 9.5. Rolling. Go ahead, Tony.
You remember what the Bears did when the Bears couldn't get laid in the monkey whorehouse, fistful of bananas on offense? They went in there and lit them up for 42 at Washington.
Right.
They killed them. Also,
Horrible.
just one other thing.
Night.
Let's talk prop bets. If you're not taking the over on receiving yards for Hill and Waddle in this game, then you're living under a rock. And I wouldn't even, I tell you what, maybe Mossert out of the backfield with receiving yards. Take that over, because Washington can't stop anybody throwing the ball. And these are the 2 of the best receivers in the league, and they're on the same team. Hill is going to be open on post routes, skinny posts and wheel routes by 5 yards on almost every single time they drop back to pass. Just FYI, folks.
That's all I'm visualizing in this game. I just see them running routes left and right around this secondary. It's going to be chaos. But let's shift gears right now. Heading into our last game, we've got the Los Angeles Chargers rolling into New England to play the Patriots. The Patriots are getting 6 points at home in this game. We've got a total at 39.5. This game will kick off at 1 p.m. in Foxborough on Sunday. You can watch it on CBS. Both of these teams coming in on losing streaks. Chargers have lost 3 straight games. Patriots have lost 4 straight games. In my eyes, the Patriots are the worst team in the NFL. Mac Jones, it's almost time to pack your bags and call it quits, because I've had enough of this guy. I can't even watch him throw the ball anymore. He's so brutal. And then the Chargers, you know what, man? This Chargers team is there. They have every tool to be a good football team. They just can't put one in the win column. This is a perfect opportunity in my eyes, I think, for this Chargers team to get themselves rolling right now. They are a little bit behind as far as their record, but I think this is a great opportunity for them to attack. Tony, what is your approach in this matchup?
Well, who the hell's going to play quarterback for New England this week? They keep pulling Jones out and putting Zappy in. He sucks. Don't they have Malik Cunningham too? Didn't they get him out of where is it, Louisville or whatever? Why haven't he must really suck to not put him, because you got into Zappy. Zappy turns it over just as bad as, of course, your hand, you're dealing Zappy a bad hand, because every time he gets in there, the other team is just teeing off on him because they know all they can do is throw because they're down. There's not any semblance of a running game at all. There could be a semblance of a running game here because, quite frankly, the Chargers aren't that good at stopping anybody defensively. Now, they did look good the other night against Baltimore. I'll give them that. They probably played their best game of the season. There's a couple of liabilities they have there. Number one is their head coach. So if you look at this game from a head coaching standpoint, yes, the New England Patriots are an unmitigated disaster. I rank them second worst in the NFL only because Carolina sucks worse,
Okay.
but they're right there. They're having a race with Carolina, for a number one draft pick, and by God, they better spend it on a quarterback too, New England, whether Belichick's there or not. But you're putting Belichick up against Staley here. That is a total mismatch. That being said, neither one of them are playing in the game. I'd be putting the Chargers in a teaser, getting them down to a pick 'em. I hate to lay points with the Chargers on the road, but Eckler, the guys they have at receiver are doing well. The good tight end. You got some defensive play. I don't know how New England is going to put up 10 or 13 points here, Griff, but I can see the Chargers putting up 24-28. I'm going to lay it with the Chargers. Your best option probably is going to be Eckler over on receiving yards and a prop bet. They love to get him the ball out of the backfield, and New England does have a defensive presence. They do get after the quarterback a little bit. You'll notice that Herbert, with that busted up finger, still likes to get rid of the ball and not take sacks. And so he'll be looking for a check down. Usually that goes to Eckler, by the way, who's very dangerous out in space. Austin Eckler is a hell of a football player, man. This guy, for a utility player, he's like a Christian McCaffrey. He can catch the ball and kill you. He can run the ball and kill you. He can do a lot of things. And if you get him out in space, he's almost impossible for one guy, one defensive back to bring him down. But if the Chargers, let me put it to you this way. If they don't win this game, I'd be surprised if their coach made it till Monday without getting fired. I really do. The fact he hasn't been fired is, I said this the other day on Twitter, he must have a picture of the team owner with a dead blonde hooker in his trunk, because the fact this guy is still employed is with the bonehead calls he makes, and one thing you do notice about his team, however, and you notice against Baltimore, you've noticed it against these one possession losses they've had, the Chargers never throw it in. They play hard till the final bell. They're in a lot of games. And if they play like that against New England here, I think they're 7 to 10 points better, because New England's just a mess. And, if they start getting blown out and give up 10 right away, how hard is New England going to play, Griff? I mean, really, when you have no play at the quarterback position, and you play a team that's dynamic offensively, you get beat up. Look at the Jets. They're just getting beat up they have no play at quarterback. They have no way to function. I don't think New England does either. I hate to lay it with the Chargers on the road. I hate to lay it with the Chargers anytime with Staley as head coach. But if you can't win this game by 7 to 10 points, you need to fire that guy's ass and be looking forward to next year. Guarantee you that. This weekend, speaking of Sunday, we had a winning Saturday and a winning Sunday last week. Had a push on a big play in the NFL with the Eagles. Nonetheless, and there's a game that's going to be the game of the week this week. We usually do marquee games, but I think there's some value in that Eagles San Francisco game this weekend. It's going to be part of my card, but one game this weekend is a total mismatch and a huge blowout. Going to be a 7-unit NFL pick for me, and I'm going to have a 6-unit pick on Championship Saturday in college football. Sprinkle in some other games, sprinkle in some college basketball. Now, don't forget, we got a free $60 for you. There's a link in the description below. You see the link right up there. Get over, park some money in any new account. It's on the house. You can use. Don't like me, don't like Griff. We don't care. We got 10 other guys over there and a ton of great information for you. Consensus service, all kinds of different things. So there's numerous options for you to utilize that $60. Thumbs up, subscribe. Don't forget to leave your comments. Griff answers 90% of them. but nonetheless, we do apologize for a losing show last week. But, guys, we've had 11 of them. We've won 9. We're going to win some for you this week. Griff, what do you got going on?
Yeah, so last weekend, I had my top play with Green Bay. That was a 7-unit play. That one cashed. Didn't think I was going to win that one outright, but they motorboated, huh, Tony? As you like to say, they rolled, man. That was a great game. I got actually bent on Saturday. I had Indiana. So we put our plays out, obviously, for Thanksgiving weekend on Wednesdays. So I had Indiana +3. I wake up Saturday morning, the line's +5.5. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. So I'm hoping that everybody that did snag my pick on Saturday did get those extra points and did capitalize on the victory. I personally took the loss, but I did go ahead and wager it myself, because if you're going to give me 2.5 extra points on top of the 3 points that I already liked, well, I'm going to go ahead and bet it myself as well heavier. So I did. I doubled down on that. So I ended up cashing. I hope everybody else did the same, got the extra points. I pushed with Mississippi State. I had them at 10. The line shifted to 10.5, so I could have got that one as well. Pushed that game, and then I ended up dropping my play with Tampa Bay last week. Looked good coming from the end, and then ended up losing that game. So going into this week, I've got a 7-unit firing it off. On Saturday, I have a top play in a championship game, obviously. Then I've got a full 3-play card on Sunday, including a 6-unit best bet. Real simple. Got 4 plays throughout the weekend. 1 top play, 7-unit in college football on Saturday. Sunday, we've got a full slate, 3 plays. Keeping it simple, Tony.
How about that bad beat on the show last week with Nebraska, Iowa over? My Huskers.
Did you
how could you suck that bad? How could you turn the ball over with 28 seconds left and give them a score, missing field goal? That thing should have been over at halftime, and yet it stayed under. Unbelievable. And let me ask you a question. Do you think that you saw the spread in this Michigan game? Do you think that Iowa can hold Michigan down like they've held everybody else all year long?
I don't personally. Michigan has been a team that has every single week, week in, week out. They are so strong offensively, whether they're running the ball or whether JJ's throwing it. They are so good offensively that I don't think any team can really stop them. I don't love Michigan. They're not my favorite team in the college football bracket to watch by any means, but they continuously win games, Tony, and they continuously put points on the board. And Iowa right now, they shouldn't even be there. I do not think they're going to be able to hold up this Michigan team by any means. Iowa has not had a hard schedule at all.
I just didn't watch Ohio State, Michigan Part 2, other than this frickin' Iowa game.
It was a good game.
And Nebraska's got a good defense. I knew they were going to struggle. I took Nebraska on the money line, so as a premium play, and you can imagine how sick I was when he threw that pick. We're getting him into overtime, which probably would have put the over for everybody watching the show for free in the win column. So just a double whammy on that one, folks. We appreciate you tuning in. Leave your comments. Tell us what you think. Get over on championship weekend at DocSports.com. And, of course, week 13 in the NFL. I'm going to put it to you this way. there's a hell of a lot of opportunity on Sunday in the NFL. I'm really looking forward to this card, Griff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to recap before we jump off the show. One thing, if anybody caught that Houston-Jacksonville game, well, we had the over in that game on the show. Upright field goal, hits the post, and that's how we lose. I'm like, come on, man. So, again, a really close last week for the show. 2 games that could have went either way. Fortunately, it didn't go our way. Let's put some in the win column this weekend, and let's have ourselves a great weekend.
You bet. Thanks for tuning in, folks.
Thanks, guys.